This black waiter was barely earning enough to survive, but he never stopped being kind. He'd cover a struggling student's meal, listen to a lonely truck driver, and calm down drunk customers with nothing but sincerity. His quiet, humble acts had caught the attention of a well-dressed woman sitting in the corner of the restaurant. Before leaving, she left behind a small, mysterious envelope, and inside it, there wasn't a single dollar in tip, only a letter that left him frozen. Would it be a chance at something better, or the shock that would take away everything he had left? Before we dive in, where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me, and don't forget to hype and subscribe for more heartwarming stories every day. The rain hammered down on Silver Creek like it had a grudge. Marcus Hale wiped down table 7 for the third time that night, his dark hands moving in circles that had become muscle memory after 5 years of this. The diner sat on the bad edge of town where the neon signs flickered more than they glowed, and the parking lot had more cracks than asphalt. Friday night, same faces, same stories. He was 34 but felt older, the kind of tired that sleep couldn't fix. Marcus, coffee. Hank Rollins waved from the counter, his trucker cap sitting crooked on his gray head. The man had been coming here for longer than Marcus had been working here, always ordering the same thing, always telling the same stories about highways and snowstorms, and the one time he delivered a load of Christmas trees to Denver in July. Marcus grabbed the pot and walked over. "You're gonna be up all night, Hank. That's the plan, kid." Hank pushed his empty cup forward. "Got a haul to Pittsburgh in 2 hours, can't afford to nod off." Marcus poured. The coffee was burnt. It had been sitting there since 6 p.m. Nobody cared. Nobody came to Silver Creek Diner for the quality. Hank took a sip and grimaced. "Tastes like diesel, should keep you awake then." Hank laughed, that raspy smoker's laugh that sounded like gravel in a blender. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a crumpled $5 bill. "That's all I got tonight, Marcus. Sorry, man." The coffee was $2.50. No tip. Again. Marcus took the 5 and smiled anyway. "Don't worry about it. Just get to Pittsburgh safe. You're a good kid, you know that." Marcus didn't feel good. He felt broke. But he nodded and moved on because what else was there to do? Booth 3. Lily Brooks sat hunched over a nursing textbook, her blonde hair falling into her face. She'd been there for over an hour, nursing a single cup of coffee that had gone cold 30 minutes ago. Marcus had watched her count coins earlier when she ordered the cheapest thing on the menu, a side of fries and toast. 19, maybe 20, working her way through community college on fumes and hope. He approached with the check, $4.75. She looked up, and her face went red before she even opened her wallet. Marcus had seen that look before. The shame of not having enough. "Lily, I know, I'm sorry." He put the check down. He'd already crossed out the total and written 0. Her eyes went wide. "Marcus, I can't, you can." His voice was quiet. "Just pay it forward someday." Her lip trembled. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just ace that exam you're studying for." He walked away before she could argue, before she could cry, because he couldn't handle that right now. Not tonight. The door chimed. 2 men stumbled in, reeking of whiskey and bad choices. Marcus recognized the type immediately, factory workers from the plant on Route 9, getting loaded after their shift because they had nothing better to do with their anger. They sat at booth 5 and started talking too loud. One of them knocked over a salt shaker and laughed like it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Marcus grabbed 2 menus and approached. "Evening, gentlemen. What can I get you?" The bigger one, red-faced and sweating despite the cold, looked up with glassy eyes. 2 burgers, and keep the coffee coming." "You got it. And make it fast. We ain't got all night." Marcus smiled. "I'll put the order in now." He turned to leave, but the smaller one grabbed his wrist. "Not hard, but enough." "Hey, you deaf?" He said, "Make it fast." Marcus looked down at the hand on his wrist, then up at the man's face. Every instinct in his body told him to pull away, to say something sharp, to remind this drunk that he had no right to touch him. But he didn't. He took a breath. "I heard him. I'll have it out in 10 minutes. The man let go, grinning like he'd won something. Marcus walked back to the kitchen and put the order in. His heart was pounding but his hands were steady. Jerome, the night cook, looked at him through the window. "You good?" "Yeah." "You sure? Because I can go out there." "I'm good, Jerome." Jerome nodded, but his eyes said he didn't believe it. Marcus leaned against the counter and closed his eyes. 5 years of this. 5 years of smiling at people who didn't see him, who looked through him like he was part of the furniture. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out. A call from home. His chest tightened. He stepped into the back hallway, away from the noise, and answered. "Hey, sweetheart. Daddy?" Aria's voice was small and sleepy. She was 7 years old and sounded like she'd been crying. "When are you coming home?" God, he missed her. "Not until late, baby." "Is Mrs. Peterson there?" Mrs. Peterson was the neighbor, a retired teacher who watched Aria on the nights Marcus worked. She was kind. She didn't charge much, but she wasn't him. "Yeah, she's here. But I wanted to say good night to you." Marcus pressed his forehead against the wall. "Good night, Aria. I love you. Love you too, Daddy." A pause. "Did you eat dinner?" He hadn't. "I did. Don't worry about me." "Okay. See you in the morning." "See you in the morning." She hung up. He stood there staring at the cracked tile floor, feeling the weight of everything he couldn't give her pressing down on his shoulders. His phone buzzed again. Not a call this time. An email. He opened it. The subject line, "Important update on tuition." His stomach dropped. He read it once, then again. Aria's school, the small private academy where she'd finally made friends after her mother died, was raising tuition, effective next semester, from $1,200 to $2,500. Marcus did the math in his head. He had $340 in his bank account. Rent was due in 2 weeks. The car needed new brakes. He was already behind on the electric bill, $2,500. He couldn't do it. There was no way. He leaned back against the wall and let the air out of his lungs. Aria couldn't transfer schools, not again. She'd been through enough. Losing her mom in that car accident 3 years ago had shattered her world, and this school was the one place where she felt stable, where she had friends who knew her, teachers who cared. He couldn't take that away from her, but he didn't have $2,500. He didn't have anything close. Jerome called through the window. "Orders up." Marcus shoved his phone back in his pocket and grabbed the plates. The two drunks at booth 5 were arguing now, voices rising. He set their food down without a word and walked away before they could pull him into whatever fight they were starting. That's when he noticed her. Corner booth, near the window. She didn't belong. A woman in a black suit, designer, the kind that cost more than Marcus made in 6 months. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, and her posture was perfect. Spine straight, hands folded on the table like she was sitting in a boardroom instead of a diner that smelled like grease and regret. She'd been there for over an hour. 1 cup of coffee, 1 slice of apple pie she hadn't touched. No phone, no book, just sitting there, watching. Marcus approached with the coffee pot. "Can I warm that up for you, ma'am?" She looked up. Her eyes were sharp, the kind that saw too much. "No, thank you." Her voice was smooth, controlled, like every word had been measured before it left her mouth. "Anything else I can get you?" "I'm fine." He nodded and stepped back, but something about her made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. She didn't fit here, and she knew it, but she stayed anyway. He moved on. Lily was packing up her books, mouthing "thank you" 1 more time. He waved her off. Hank was getting loud again, telling another story about a blizzard in Montana. The two drunks were still arguing, but quieter now, focused on their food, and the woman in the corner booth kept watching. At 10:30 she stood. She walked to the counter like she owned the place, heels clicking on the linoleum. Marcus met her at the register. "Just the coffee and pie." "Yes." He rang it up. $8.50. She handed him a black credit card without a word. He ran it, gave her the receipt to sign. She signed it. Neat handwriting, precise. Then she left the merchant copy on the counter and walked out into the rain without looking back. Marcus looked down at the receipt. Tip line, blank, 0. He felt the disappointment settle in his chest like a stone. He shouldn't have expected anything. Rich people never tipped well. They thought the meal was enough. He folded the receipt and walked over to clear her table. That's when he saw it. An envelope, white, crisp, sitting under the edge of the plate. His hands shook as he picked it up. On the outside, in the same precise handwriting, "For the waiter who remembers names." He opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a business card. The note read, "I need to see you. This is not charity. This is a proposal. Come to Mercer Tech Tower tomorrow at 10 a.m. Ask for Evelyn Mercer. Don't ignore this. The business card was heavy. Embossed lettering. Evelyn Mercer CEO, Mercer Technologies. Marcus knew that name. Everyone did. Forbes' richest self-made women. Tech industry. Billions. And she just sat in his diner for an hour, left $0, and told him to come see her. His first thought was, this is a prank. His second thought was, this is a scam. But something about the way she'd watched him, the way her eyes followed every move, like she was studying him, testing him. He slipped the note and card into his pocket. The two drunks left without tipping. Lily waved goodbye from the door. Hank finished his coffee and headed out into the rain, still talking about Pittsburgh. Marcus finished his shift in a daze. By the time he got home it was 2:30 in the morning. The apartment was dark, except for Aria's nightlight, a cheap plastic thing shaped like a star. He checked on her first, always first. She was asleep, curled around her stuffed bunny, her brown curls spread across the pillow. He stood there for a long time just watching her breathe, feeling the weight of the email pressing down on him like a physical thing. $2,500. He sat on the edge of his bed and pulled out the note. Come to Mercer Tech Tower tomorrow at 10 a.m. What could a billionaire possibly want from him? And why? He thought about ignoring it, throwing the note away, pretending it never happened. But then he thought about Aria, about the school, about the $340 in his account that wouldn't stretch no matter how hard he tried. If there was even a chance, even a small one, that this could help her, could he really walk away? He lay down but didn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling and thought about his wife Michelle, the way she used to say, "Give her the life I couldn't give her." He'd been trying. God, he'd been trying. But trying wasn't enough. At 6 a.m., Aria crawled into his bed, pressing her face against his shoulder. "Morning, Daddy." He pulled her close. "Morning, baby. You smell like coffee." "I always smell like coffee," she giggled. Then she looked up at him with those serious eyes. Michelle's eyes. "Are you okay?" He wanted to tell her the truth, that he was terrified, that he didn't know how to pay for her school, that he felt like he was failing her every single day, but he didn't. "I'm okay, sweetheart. I promise." She smiled and closed her eyes, trusting him completely, and that's when he made his decision. He would go to Mercer Tech Tower, not because he believed in miracles, not because he thought a billionaire would save him, but because refusing to try felt like giving up. And he'd promised Michelle he would never do that. What happens when Marcus walks into that building? Will Evelyn Mercer's offer change everything, or destroy what little he has left? Marcus stood across the street from Mercer Tech Tower for 10 minutes before he could make himself cross. 42 stories of glass and steel, the kind of building that reflected clouds and made you feel small just looking at it. The kind of building where people like him didn't belong. He wore the only suit he owned, the one from his wedding 7 years ago. It was too tight in the shoulders now. The pants were a little short. The fabric had that shiny worn look that screamed second-hand and desperate. But it was the best he had. He checked his phone. 9:52 a.m. Aria had texted him before school. "Good luck, Daddy. Love you." He took a breath and crossed the street. The lobby hit him like a wave. Marble floors, chandeliers that probably cost more than his car, fresh flowers in vases taller than Aria. The air smelled like expensive cologne and money. A blonde woman sat behind a reception desk that looked like it belonged in a museum. She glanced up as he approached, her smile professional and distant. Her eyes flickered over his suit, his worn shoes, his dark skin. He'd seen that look 1,000 times before. "Can I help you?" Her voice was pleasant, too pleasant. "I'm here to see Evelyn Mercer." Her smile didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Surprise, maybe suspicion. "Do you have an appointment?" "She asked me to come." "My name is Marcus Hale." The woman picked up her phone, pressed a button, and spoke quietly, too quietly for him to hear. She listened, then hung up. When she looked at him again, the surprise was still there. 38th floor, elevator on the left. Marcus nodded and walked toward the elevator, feeling her eyes on his back the whole way. The elevator was empty. He stepped inside and watched the numbers climb. His reflection stared back at him from the polished walls. A black man in an ill-fitting suit looking like he'd wandered in from another world. Maybe he had. The doors opened onto a hallway of glass and dark wood. Everything was clean, sharp, cold. A young white man in an expensive gray suit was waiting for him. Mid-20s, slicked back hair, the kind of confidence that came from never worrying about rent. Mr. Hale. The man's smile was practiced. I'm Michael, Miss Mercer's executive assistant. Right this way. They walked past offices where people sat at computers worth more than Marcus made in a year, past conference rooms with views that stretched to the horizon. Everyone was white. Everyone wore suits that fit. Marcus noticed the glances, the quick looks, the whispers that stopped when he passed. He was the only black face on the floor. Michael stopped at a set of double doors at the end of the hall and knocked twice. Miss Mercer, Mr. Hale is here. Send him in. Michael opened the doors and stepped aside. Marcus walked through. The office was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city like a kingdom. A desk that could fit his entire apartment. Everything was minimal, clean lines, no clutter, no warmth. Evelyn Mercer stood behind the desk in a charcoal gray suit, her dark hair pulled back in a way that made her look sharper than she had at the diner. She was maybe 40, maybe older. It was hard to tell. Money had a way of smoothing out the years. Thank you, Michael. Her voice was calm, controlled. Michael nodded and left, closing the doors behind him. Evelyn gestured to the chairs across from her desk. Please, sit. Marcus sat. The chair was leather, expensive. It probably cost more than everything in his apartment combined. Evelyn didn't sit immediately. Instead, she walked to a small table near the window where a coffee maker sat. The expensive kind that ground beans fresh. Coffee, sure. She made 2 cups in silence. Marcus watched her, trying to understand. Why would a billionaire make her own coffee? Why would she have him here at all? She brought both cups to the desk and sat across from him. Up close, her eyes were the same as they'd been at the diner. Sharp, measuring, seeing too much. Thank you for coming, she said. I wasn't sure you would. Marcus wrapped his hands around the cup. It was warm, solid, real. With all respect, Miss Mercer, why am I here? Call me Evelyn. Why am I here, Evelyn? She took a sip of her coffee, then set it down carefully. I'm offering you a job. Marcus had expected that, but hearing it out loud still felt surreal. Doing what? Community outreach director for a new initiative I'm launching. It's called Renew Lives. The goal is to help single parents in difficult circumstances. Job training, child care support, educational grants, real support, not handouts. He stared at her. And you want me to run it? I want you to help build it, to make sure it actually helps people instead of just making me feel good about myself. Marcus set his cup down. His hands were shaking. I'm a waiter. I don't have a degree in community outreach. I don't have connections. What could I possibly do for you? Evelyn leaned back in her chair. You've been there, Marcus. You know what it's like to work 2 jobs and still come up short. To smile at people who don't see you. To make choices no one should have to make. She paused. I need someone who won't treat struggling families like charity cases. Someone who will see them as people. It sounded good. Too good. And the tip? Marcus's voice was harder now. The $0 you left me last night. What was that about? Evelyn didn't flinch. That was a test. Something hot flared in his chest. A test. Yes. Marcus stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. You tested me, like some kind of experiment. I needed to see how you'd react to being overlooked. I get overlooked every damn day. His voice was rising now, and he didn't care. You think that's something you need to test? You wanted to see what the poor black waiter would do when the rich white lady didn't tip him. I wanted to see if you'd curse me out, if you'd complain to your coworkers, if you'd treat me differently because I didn't give you money. Evelyn's voice stayed level, maddeningly calm. You didn't. You said thank you and wished me a good night, even after I gave you nothing. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. So you insult me to prove a point. I tested you to make sure you're real. She stood now too, meeting his eyes. I've been looking for months, Marcus. I watched you for an hour in that diner. The way you handled the drunk men, the college girl who couldn't pay, the phone call with your daughter. You were kind when no one was watching. That's rare. So you what? You sit in my diner, leave me $0, and then offer me a job. He shook his head. What kind of game is this? It's not a game. Then what is it? Because people like you don't help people like me without wanting something. Evelyn walked around the desk. Closer now. You're right. I do want something. I want someone who understands what it's like to be invisible. Someone who won't forget where they came from. She paused. The salary is $75,000 a year, full benefits, and there's a scholarship for your daughter, full tuition at one of the best private schools in the state. The number hit him like a punch to the gut. $75,000. He made $23,000 working 60-hour weeks. His throat went dry. What do you want from me? I want you to help families like yours. I want you to build something that matters. I'm just a waiter. His voice came out quieter than he meant it to. I don't know how to do this. You know more than you think. Evelyn picked up a folder from her desk and handed it to him. Read this. Take your time. You have 3 days to decide. Marcus opened it. Inside were documents, spreadsheets, photographs. The header on the first page read, Renew Lives Initiative, Proposal Draft, Job Training Programs, Child Care Assistance, Educational Grants, Partnerships with local companies. The budget was in the millions. His hands were shaking again. 3 days, Evelyn repeated. If you say yes, you start in 2 weeks. Marcus closed the folder. This is too much. There has to be a catch. The catch is that you'll work harder than you've ever worked, that you'll carry the weight of knowing families are depending on you, that you'll have to make decisions that affect real lives. She met his eyes. If that sounds easy, then you're not the right person. He wanted to say yes. God. He wanted to say yes. Arya's school, the overdue bills, the car that needed brakes. $75,000 would change everything. But nothing was free. Not like this. Not from people like her. I need to think about it, he said. Evelyn nodded. 3 days, Marcus. You have my number. He left the folder on her desk and walked out. Michael was waiting in the hallway. I'll show you to the elevator. They walked back in silence. Marcus felt the eyes on him again, the whispers, the glances. When the elevator doors closed, he leaned against the wall and let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. His hands didn't stop shaking until he was back on the street. Marcus just walked away from $75,000. But can he really afford to say no? And what is Evelyn Mercer really after? The truth is about to get a lot more complicated. That night at the diner, Marcus couldn't stop thinking about it. $75,000. The number kept circling in his head like a vulture. He poured coffee. He took orders. He smiled at customers. But his mind was somewhere else. During his break, he pulled out his phone and typed Evelyn Mercer, pages of results. Forbes articles, tech industry profiles. Photos of her at charity galas wearing dresses that cost more than his yearly salary. He scrolled through them looking for something. Anything that would explain why a billionaire would sit in his diner and offer him a job. Then he found it. Buried on page 3 of the search results. A local newspaper article from 2011. The headline read, From waitress to boardroom, Evelyn Mercer credits late mother's work ethic. Marcus clicked it. The article was short. A profile piece about Evelyn's rise in the tech world. But one paragraph made him stop breathing. Mercer's mother, Dorothy Mercer, worked as a waitress at Riverside Diner for over 20 years, raising Evelyn alone after her husband died in a construction accident. Dorothy worked 2 jobs most of her life, sacrificing everything to put her daughter through school. She passed away in 2018 after a long illness at County General Hospital. Marcus read it again. Evelyn's mother had been a waitress, a single parent, just like him. He kept searching. Found an obituary. Dorothy Mercer died at 63. No cause of death listed, just after a long illness. The kind of phrase people used when someone couldn't afford the treatment that might have saved them. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'd like to meet again. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Not at my office. There's a coffee shop on 5th and Main. Evelyn. Marcus stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed back, I'll be there. The coffee shop was small, local, the kind of place that smelled like cinnamon and played jazz too quietly. Marcus arrived 10 minutes early and sat in the back corner watching the door. Evelyn walked in at exactly 2 p.m. She wasn't wearing a suit this time, just jeans and a sweater. Her hair was down. She looked almost normal. Almost. She ordered a coffee at the counter, then walked over and sat across from him. Thank you for coming. Marcus didn't say anything. He just waited. Evelyn wrapped her hands around her cup. For the first time since he'd met her, she looked uncomfortable. You looked me up. I did. Then you know about my mother. I know she was a waitress. I know she died. Evelyn nodded slowly. She worked at Riverside Diner for 23 years. Breakfast and lunch shifts, 6 days a week. Sometimes 7 when we needed the money. Her voice was steady, but there was something underneath it now. Something raw. My father died when I was 3. Construction accident. No life insurance. We had nothing. Marcus listened. My mom never complained, not once. She just worked. She made sure I had school supplies. Made sure I had clean clothes. Made sure I never felt like we were poor, even though we were. Evelyn looked down at her coffee. When I was 15, she got hit by a drunk driver on her way home from work. Broke her back in 3 places. Marcus felt something twist in his chest. 3 surgeries. Physical therapy for months. We had insurance, but it wasn't enough. Not even close. Evelyn's hands tightened around her cup. We were going to lose everything. The apartment. My school. Everything she'd worked for. What happened? There was a man who used to come into Riverside every morning. My mom said he was poor, worked construction, could barely afford breakfast, but when he heard what happened, he organized a fundraiser, got the whole neighborhood involved, raised enough to cover most of the medical bills and 3 months of rent. Marcus swallowed hard. My mother tried to find him after she recovered. She wanted to thank him, pay him back, but he was gone. Moved away, someone said. She never got to thank him. Evelyn finally looked up and her eyes were wet. It bothered her for the rest of her life. She used to say he always remembered her name, even though she was just the woman who poured his coffee. The pieces were clicking into place now. Marcus could see it all clearly. And you're looking for him. He died 5 years ago. I found out too late. Evelyn's voice cracked just slightly. But I saw in you what my mother saw in him. Dignity without arrogance. Kindness without expectation. You do the same thing he did. You see people. Marcus felt his throat tighten. So this is about your mother. This is about honoring what she valued, what she taught me. Evelyn leaned forward. I'm not choosing you because you're poor, Marcus. I'm not choosing you because I feel sorry for you. I'm choosing you because you're good. There's a difference. He wanted to believe her. God. He wanted to believe her. But belief had burned him before. What if I fail? His voice came out quieter than he meant it to. What if I'm not good enough? My mother wasn't good enough by society's standards. She never finished college, worked minimum wage her whole life. Died in a public hospital because she couldn't afford better. Evelyn's voice was firm now. But she was good. That's what matters. Marcus sat with that for a long moment. Outside, people walked by on the sidewalk. Normal people living normal lives. People who didn't have to make impossible choices. I still don't understand why you tested me. He looked at her. The 0 tip. Why did you have to do that? Evelyn took a breath. Because I needed to know you were real. I've met a lot of people, Marcus. People who are kind when it benefits them. People who help others because it looks good. I needed to see what you do when there was nothing in it for you. And if I'd gotten angry, if I'd cursed you out, then I would have known you weren't the right person. She paused. But you didn't. You thanked me. Even after I gave you nothing. Marcus shook his head. That doesn't make me special. That just makes me someone who needs the job too much to risk losing it. No. Evelyn's voice was sharp now. I've seen people who need the job. They're resentful, bitter. They do the bare minimum. You didn't. You helped that college girl even though it cost you. You dealt with those drunk men even though they disrespected you. You called your daughter and told her everything was okay even though it wasn't. She leaned back. You're not special because you're poor, Marcus. You're special because you're kind when kindness costs you something. He felt something crack open in his chest. Something he'd been holding closed for 3 years. My wife used to say that. His voice was rough. She used to say kindness costs something. Evelyn waited. She died 3 years ago. Car accident, drunk driver, just like your mom. Marcus looked down at his hands. She was a nurse. Worked doubles. Overnight shifts. Never complained. The night before she died she told me. Give her the life I couldn't give her. He swallowed hard. I've been trying, but trying isn't enough. It is enough. Evelyn said quietly. Your daughter has a father who loves her, who works himself to exhaustion for her, who treats strangers with dignity because that's who he is. That's more than enough. Marcus wanted to believe that, but the $340 in his bank account said otherwise. The tuition bill said otherwise. The car that needed brakes and the electric bill that was overdue said otherwise. I'm afraid, he admitted. I'm afraid I'll take this job and fail. I'm afraid people will think I didn't earn it. I'm afraid my daughter will suffer because of choices I make. Those are good fears, Evelyn said. They mean you understand what's at stake. So what do? You take 3 days. You think about it. You decide what kind of life you want to give your daughter. Evelyn stood up. But know this, Marcus. Whether you take this job or not, you're already giving her something invaluable. You're showing her what it means to be a good person. That's worth more than any paycheck. She left cash on the table for both their coffees and walked out. Marcus sat there for a long time staring at his cup, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on him. His phone buzzed, a text from Aria. Can we get pizza tonight? Please, pizza. $15. He could afford that. Barely. He typed back. Yes, baby, pizza tonight. 3 days. That's what Evelyn had given him. But Marcus had a feeling the decision was already made. He just didn't want to admit it yet. Because admitting it meant believing in something he'd stopped believing in a long time ago. Hope. Marcus is standing at the edge of something that could change everything. But when the world finds out about Evelyn's offer, hope might be the first thing to die. What happens next will test everything. He thought he knew about dignity, shame, and what it means to rise above. Marcus woke up to 17 missed calls. It was 6:30 a.m. Aria was still asleep. His phone was buzzing on the nightstand like an angry wasp. He grabbed it. Texts from Jerome, from Lily, from people at the diner he barely knew, all saying the same thing. Have you seen it? Marcus, what the hell? Is this real? He sat up, his heart already pounding, and opened his browser. The headline hit him like a fist to the throat. Billionaire Evelyn Mercer plucks black waiter from diner for high-paying position. What's the real story? The article was on a local news site. Not major, but big enough. Marcus read it once. Then again. His hands were shaking. Sources close to Mercer Technologies confirmed that CEO Evelyn Mercer has offered a 6-figure position to Marcus Hale, a 34-year-old waiter with no college degree and no prior experience in corporate management. Hale, who works at Silver Creek Diner on the east side of town, was reportedly approached after Mercer visited the establishment last week. While Mercer's office has declined to comment, the move has raised eyebrows in the business community. Critics question whether this is a genuine hire or a publicity stunt. Some have noted the optics of a wealthy white CEO elevating a black service worker, suggesting it may be an attempt to burnish Mercer's image amid ongoing scrutiny of diversity practices in the tech industry. Others are asking a different question. What is Mercer really after? The article didn't say it outright. But the implication was clear. There was something inappropriate going on. Something hidden. Marcus felt sick. His phone rang. Jerome. He answered. Jerome. Man, what the hell is this? Jerome's voice was tight, angry. You didn't tell me you were talking to that woman. I didn't. The whole diner is talking about it, Marcus. Earl's pissed. Customers are asking questions. People think Jerome stopped. Think what? Jerome sighed. People think you're sleeping with her, man. Or that she's trying to buy you. Or that this is some kind of, I don't know, rich person guilt trip. Marcus pressed his hand to his forehead. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Because from where I'm standing it looks bad. I haven't even said yes yet. Doesn't matter. People are already talking. Marcus hung up and sat there staring at the wall. His phone kept buzzing. More texts. More calls. Then Aria's voice, small and sleepy, from the doorway. Daddy? Who keeps calling? He forced a smile. Nobody, baby. Just work stuff. Go get ready for school. She frowned but obeyed. Marcus got dressed in a fog. made breakfast, helped Arya with her backpack, walked her to the bus stop like always. But everything felt wrong. At the bus stop, Mrs. Peterson from next door gave him a look. Not friendly, not warm, just knowing. "I saw the article, Marcus." He didn't respond. "Just be careful, honey. People like her don't do things for free." The bus came. Arya climbed on, waving at him through the window. He waved back, feeling like he was drowning. By the time Marcus got to the diner for his lunch shift, the damage was done. The moment he walked through the door, the conversation stopped. Lily was at booth 3, hunched over her textbook like always. But when she saw him, she looked away. Hank sat at the counter, but he didn't call out a greeting. Just sipped his coffee and stared straight ahead. Earl, the owner, a heavy-set white man in his 60s, was waiting by the register. His face was hard. "Marcus, back office, now." Marcus followed him past the kitchen where Jerome was working the grill. Jerome didn't look up. Earl closed the door and crossed his arms. "You gonna tell me what's going on?" "It's not what the article says." "Then what is it?" Marcus took a breath. "She offered me a job. A real job. Running a community program. I haven't even decided yet. And you didn't think to mention this to me." "I didn't think it would matter." Earl shook his head. "It matters, Marcus. People are talking. They're saying you're involved with her. That you're trying to get rich off some billionaire's guilt. That's not true. Doesn't matter if it's true. It's what people believe." Earl's voice softened just slightly. "Look, son. I like you. You're a good worker. But this is a small town. People talk. And right now they're saying things that could hurt my business." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Are you firing me?" "No, but I'm asking you to be careful. Whatever you decide to do, just think about what it looks like. People like us don't get offers like that. And when we do, there's always a reason." Marcus left the office feeling like the walls were closing in. His shift was hell. Customers whispered, stared. One older white man left without tipping and muttered, "Gold digger," loud enough for Marcus to hear. Lily finally approached him near the end of his shift. Her eyes were red. "Marcus, I'm sorry. I know you helped me. I know you're a good person. But people are saying I know what they're saying." She bit her lip. "Is it true? Did she really offer you all that money?" "It's a job, Lily. A real job." "But why you?" Her voice was small, confused. "Why would someone like her choose someone like you?" The words hit harder than she meant them to. "Someone like you." Because that's what he was, wasn't it? A black man. A waiter. Someone with no degree, no connections, no right to dream bigger. He didn't answer her. Just walked away. That evening Marcus picked up Arya from Mrs. Peterson's like always. But Arya wasn't herself. She was quiet in the car, staring out the window. "Baby, you okay?" She didn't answer. "Arya." Her voice cracked. "The kids at school were mean to me today." Marcus's blood went cold. "What did they say?" She started crying. "They said you're trying to marry a rich lady. They said you're a gold digger. They said you don't really love me, you just want money." Marcus pulled the car over. His hands were shaking so hard he couldn't hold the wheel. "Arya, look at me." She turned, tears streaming down her brown cheeks. "That's not true. None of it. I love you more than anything in this world. You understand me." "Then why are people saying it?" "Because people don't understand. Because they're scared of things they don't know." "But Daddy, what if they're right? What if they're right?" "They're not right." His voice broke. "They're not." But even as he said it, he wondered, what if they were? What if this whole thing was a mistake? What if accepting Evelyn's offer destroyed the one thing that mattered? His daughter's happiness. That night, after Arya finally fell asleep, still sniffling, still holding her bunny tight, Marcus sat on the edge of his bed and stared at his phone. He thought about the article, the whispers, the way Lily had looked at him, the way Arya had cried. He thought about Earl's words, "People like us don't get offers like that." He thought about $75,000, about Arya's school, about the life he could give her. But what good was money if she was miserable, if she was bullied, if people looked at her and saw only what her father had taken, not what he'd earned? He picked up his phone and dialed. Evelyn answered on the second ring. "Marcus, I can't do this." His voice was flat, dead. "What happened? Did you see the article?" A pause. "Yes, I saw it. My daughter was bullied at school today, called me a gold digger, cried in my car." His voice was shaking now. "I can't let her suffer because of me. I can't let her grow up thinking her father sold his dignity for a paycheck. Marcus, listen to me. The money isn't worth her dignity. I'm sorry. I can't." "Marcus." He hung up. Then he turned off his phone, lay down and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow he'd go back to the diner. He'd smile at customers. He'd pour coffee. He'd be invisible again. It was safer that way. People like him weren't supposed to rise, and when they tried, the world made sure they remembered their place. But at 8 a.m. the next morning there was a knock on his door. Marcus opened it, exhausted, expecting Mrs. Peterson. Instead, Evelyn Mercer stood in the hallway of his rundown apartment building, wearing jeans and a coat, looking completely out of place. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. Marcus didn't have the energy to say no. He stepped aside, and everything was about to change again. Marcus just turned down $75,000 to protect his daughter. But Evelyn isn't done yet. What she's about to do will either save him, or destroy what little he has left. You won't believe what happens next. Evelyn stood in the doorway of Marcus's apartment, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked uncertain. Marcus stepped aside. She walked in slowly, taking in the cramped space, the second-hand couch with the torn armrest, the small kitchen table with mismatched chairs, the toys scattered across the worn carpet. "I'm sorry for coming unannounced," Evelyn said quietly. Marcus closed the door. He was too tired to be angry, too tired to be anything. "What do you want?" "I want to fix this." "You can't fix this." His voice was hollow. "My daughter cried herself to sleep last night. People at the diner won't look at me. The whole town thinks I'm some kind of He stopped, shook his head. "You can't fix that." Evelyn opened her mouth to respond, but a small voice interrupted. "Daddy?" They both turned. Arya stood in the hallway in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Her curls were a mess. Her face was still puffy from crying. She saw Evelyn and froze. "Who's that?" Marcus walked over and knelt down beside her. "This is Miss Mercer. She's a friend." Arya looked at Evelyn with the kind of directness only children have. No filter, no politeness, just curiosity and caution. Evelyn knelt down too, making herself small, level with Arya. "Hi, Arya. I brought you something." She pulled a book from her bag. The same science book Marcus had seen at the store 2 weeks ago. The one Arya had looked at with wide eyes before saying, "It's okay, Daddy. I can borrow from the library." Arya's eyes went huge. "How did you? Your dad told me you like science." Evelyn held it out. "I thought you might like this." Arya looked at Marcus uncertain. He nodded. She took the book carefully, like it might break. Her fingers traced the cover: planets, animals, the human body in bright colors. "Thank you," she whispered. Evelyn smiled. A real smile. Not the controlled professional one Marcus had seen before. "You're welcome." Arya clutched the book to her chest, then looked up at Evelyn with those serious eyes. "Are you the lady from the computer?" Evelyn glanced at Marcus, then back at Arya. "What do you mean?" "The kids at school showed me a picture on their phone. They said you're trying to buy my daddy." Her voice was small, scared. "Are you?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Evelyn took a slow breath. "No, Arya. I'm not trying to buy your daddy. I'm trying to give him a job because he's good at helping people, just like he helps people at the diner." "But the kids said." "The kids don't know what they're talking about." Evelyn's voice was gentle but firm. "And I'm going to make sure they stop saying mean things. I promise." Arya's lip trembled. "They said Daddy doesn't love me, that he just wants money." "Arya." Evelyn leaned closer, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. Your dad is the bravest man I know. Do you know what he did yesterday? Arya shook her head. He said no to a lot of money. More money than most people see in their whole lives. He said no because he loves you. Because he wanted to protect you. Evelyn glanced at Marcus, then back at Arya. That's what real fathers do. They protect their kids, even when it costs them everything. Arya's eyes filled with tears. But why are people being mean? Because sometimes people don't understand. My mom was like your dad. She worked hard. She was a waitress, just like your dad, and people looked down on her sometimes. But I was proud of her. So proud. Evelyn's voice cracked just slightly. And you should be proud of your dad. He's a good man. Don't let anyone tell you different. Arya looked at Marcus, really looked at him. Then she walked over and wrapped her arms around his neck. Marcus held her tight, his throat closing. I'm proud of you, Daddy, she whispered. He couldn't speak, just nodded against her hair. Arya pulled back and wiped her eyes. Then she looked at Evelyn again. Miss Mercer. Yes, if Daddy takes the job, can he help other kids like me? Kids whose daddies work really hard but don't have enough money. Evelyn's eyes went soft. Yes, that's exactly what he'd be doing. Arya turned to Marcus. Then why don't you do it, Daddy? The question was so simple, so honest. Marcus looked at his daughter, this 7-year-old girl who'd lost her mother, who'd learned not to ask for things, who'd been bullied yesterday, and was still thinking about other kids. Baby, it's not that simple, but it is. Arya's voice was steady now. If you can help people, you should help people. That's what Mommy always said. Marcus felt something crack in his chest. Michelle used to say that. If you can help, you help. That's what we do. Evelyn stood slowly. Marcus, can I talk to you for a minute? Alone. Marcus nodded. Arya, go read your new book, okay? Arya clutched the book and went to the couch, already flipping through the pages. Marcus and Evelyn stepped into the small kitchen. I'm handling the newspaper, Evelyn said quietly. They'll print a retraction. I've already spoken with my lawyers. The article was defamatory, and they know it. That doesn't change what people think. Then we change what people think. Evelyn's voice was firm. I've already called Arya's school. I spoke with the principal. If any child harasses her again, there will be consequences, real ones. Marcus shook his head. You can't control what people say. No, but I can make it clear that I won't tolerate lies about you or your daughter. Evelyn stepped closer. Marcus, I know you're scared. I know this is hard, but if you walk away now, you're not protecting Arya. You're teaching her that she should be ashamed of who she is, that she should make herself small because other people don't understand. That's not fair. It's not, but it's true. Evelyn's eyes were intense. You're not doing this for money, Marcus. You're doing this so other families don't have to feel what you're feeling right now. So other kids don't have to count coins for pencils or borrow books from the library because $15 is too much. Marcus looked through the doorway at Arya, sitting on the couch with her science book. Her face lit up with wonder. What if I fail? His voice was barely a whisper. What if I take this job and I'm not good enough and I let everyone down? Then you'll have tried. And that's more than most people can say. He stood there for a long moment, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on him. Then Arya's voice called out from the living room. Daddy, did you know that the human heart beats 100,000 times a day? Marcus smiled despite himself. I didn't know that, baby. It's amazing. She looked up at him, her face glowing. If you take the job, can you help kids learn stuff like this? Can you help them go to good schools? Marcus walked over and sat down beside her. Yeah, baby, I could help with that. Then you should do it. She said it with such simple conviction, such pure belief. Marcus looked at Evelyn, who was standing in the kitchen doorway watching them. Then he looked back at Arya, and he made his decision. Okay, he said quietly. I'll do it. Arya threw her arms around him again. Really? Really? Evelyn smiled.
a real genuine smile that reached her eyes. "You won't regret this, Marcus. I hope you're right." She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. "I'll send over the contract tomorrow. And Marcus, thank you for believing." After she left, Marcus sat on the couch with Aria, watching her read her new book, feeling something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. Maybe it was dangerous. Maybe it would hurt him in the end. But his daughter had asked him a question he couldn't ignore. If you can help people, why don't you? And maybe, just maybe, that was reason enough to try. The next morning, Marcus's phone rang at 7 a.m. It was Evelyn. "Turn on the news." He did. The local station was running a story. But this time, the headline was different. Mercer Technologies launches Renew Lives initiative. Local father Marcus Hale chosen to lead community outreach. The anchor's voice was professional, respectful, in a move praised by community leaders. Billionaire CEO Evelyn Mercer has appointed Marcus Hale, a longtime resident and father, to head her new initiative supporting single-parent families. Hale, who has worked in the service industry for years, was selected for his deep understanding of the challenges facing working families. The program will provide job training, childcare support, and educational grants.
Marcus stared at the screen. Evelyn's voice came through the phone. "I told you I'd handle it. How did you? I made some calls. Set the record straight. The truth is a lot more powerful than rumors, Marcus. People just needed to hear it." He sat down on the edge of his bed, his hands shaking. "Thank you," he whispered. "Don't thank me yet. You've got work to do." She hung up. Marcus looked at Aria, who was standing in the doorway in her school uniform, her new science book tucked under her arm. "Ready for school, baby?" She nodded. "Are people still going to be mean? Maybe, but we're going to be okay." She walked over and took his hand. "I love you, Daddy. I love you too, Aria." And for the first time in a long time, Marcus believed things might actually be okay. Not easy, but okay. Marcus said yes, but the real work is just beginning. Building something that matters, that's going to test everything he's got. And not everyone is going to be happy about it. The fight is far from over. 2 days later, Marcus sat at his kitchen table with a blank notepad and a pen that kept running out of ink. Aria was at school. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. He'd said yes to Evelyn, but saying yes and actually stepping into that world were two different things. He thought about the Mercer Tech Tower, the glass, the marble, the way everyone had looked at him like he didn't belong, because he didn't. Not yet, maybe not ever, but if he was going to do this, if he was really going to take this job, he needed to do it right, on his terms. Not as someone being saved. Not as a charity case, as an equal. He picked up his phone and called Evelyn. She answered immediately. "Marcus, I need to talk to you, in person." "When?" "Today. This morning. Can you meet me at that coffee shop again?" A pause. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. Evelyn was already sitting at the back table when Marcus walked in. She had 2 coffees waiting. He sat down across from her and didn't touch the cup. "I've been thinking," he said. "Okay, if I take this job, I need to set some conditions." Evelyn leaned back, her face unreadable. "I'm listening." Marcus pulled out the notepad. He'd written it all down last night, sitting in the dark after Aria fell asleep. "First, 6-month trial period. Not for you, for me. I need to prove to myself that I can do this, that I'm not just taking your money because I'm desperate." Evelyn nodded slowly. "Okay. Second, I don't take the scholarship for Aria. Not yet, not until I've proven I can do the job. She stays at her current school for now." "Marcus, that's not necessary." "It is." His voice was firm. "If I fail, I don't want her education tied to my failure. She deserves stability. This gives her that." Evelyn studied him for a long moment. "All right. Third, I keep working 1 shift a week at the diner, Friday nights. I need to stay connected to where I came from. I need to remember what this is all about. That's going to be exhausting. You'll be working 6 days a week. I know, but it's important." Evelyn took a sip of her coffee. "What else?" "Fourth, I have full control over how the program runs. I'm not a figurehead. I'm not there to smile for cameras while you make all the real decisions. If I build this, I build it my way. You can advise. You can veto if something's illegal or impossible, but the day-to-day, that's mine. The silence stretched out between them. Marcus could feel his heart pounding. He just told a billionaire how things were going to be. He just put conditions on a $75,000 job when he had $340 in his bank account. It was insane, but it was the only way he could do this and still look at himself in the mirror. Evelyn set down her cup. You're tougher than I thought. I learned from my wife. She never took anything she didn't earn. Neither did my mother. Evelyn leaned forward. I agree to all of it. 6-month trial, no scholarship until you're ready, 1 shift a week at the diner, and full control of the program. She held out her hand.
Deal?
Marcus looked at her hand, then at her face. One more thing, he said. Evelyn raised an eyebrow. There's more? If this doesn't work out, if I fail or if it's not the right fit, you don't owe me anything. No severance, no safety net. I walk away clean. No guilt on either side. Marcus, that's not how employment works. That's how this works. I'm not taking this job because I need to be rescued. I'm taking it because I think I can actually help people. But if I can't, I don't want your money for trying. I want to earn what I get. Evelyn stared at him for a long moment, then she smiled. A real smile. You're going to do just fine, Marcus. Better than fine. She held out her hand again. This time Marcus took it. When can you start? She asked. 2 weeks. I need to give Earl proper notice at the diner. 2 weeks. Done. Evelyn stood up. Welcome aboard, Marcus. For real this time. He stood too. Thank you for believing in me. Don't thank me yet. You're about to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. Good. I'm ready. That afternoon, Marcus walked into Silver Creek Diner during the slow period between lunch and dinner. Earl was behind the counter, counting receipts. He looked up when Marcus walked in, and his face was guarded. Marcus, Earl, can we talk? They went to the back office, the same place where Earl had warned him 3 days ago. It felt like a lifetime had passed since then. Marcus took a breath. I'm taking the job with Mercer Technologies. Earl's jaw tightened. I figured, but I'm not leaving. Not completely. Earl frowned. What do you mean? I want to keep working 1 shift a week, Friday nights. Same as always. Marcus, you're going to be making 6 figures. You don't need to. I need to. Marcus met his eyes. This place taught me how to see people, how to listen, how to care. If I lose that, I lose everything that makes me good at what I'm about to do. Earl sat down slowly. You're serious. I'm serious. And this Mercer woman is okay with that. She is. Earl shook his head, but there was something softer in his face now. You're a stubborn son of a bitch. You know that. I know. All right. Friday nights, but if you're too tired or if it's too much, I'll let you know. Earl stood and held out his hand. Good luck, Marcus. I mean that. Marcus shook it. Thank you, for everything. When he left the diner, the sun was starting to set. The neon sign flickered above him. Same as always. He stood there for a moment, looking at the place that had been his whole world for 5 years. It wasn't much, but it was real, and he wasn't ready to let it go. That night, Marcus sat on the couch with Aria, helping her with her homework. Daddy? Yeah, baby. Are you scared about your new job? He thought about lying, about telling her everything was fine, but Aria deserved the truth. Yeah, I'm scared. She looked up at him. Why? Because I've never done anything like this before, and I'm afraid I'll mess it up. But you're really good at helping people. At the diner. Yeah, but this is different. This is bigger. Aria was quiet for a moment. Then she said Mommy used to be scared too. Before her big shifts at the hospital. Marcus's throat tightened. She did. Yeah, I heard her tell you once. She said being scared means you care, and caring is the most important part. Marcus pulled Aria close and kissed the top of her head. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart, Daddy. You just don't listen. He laughed. A real laugh. The first one in days. Maybe Aria was right. Maybe being scared was okay. Maybe it meant he was doing something that mattered. 2 weeks from now, he'd walk into Mercer Tech Tower again. But this time he wouldn't be walking in as a desperate man looking for a handout. He'd be walking in as Marcus Hale, a father, a worker, a man who knew what it meant to struggle and survive, and he was going to build something that mattered, on his terms. Marcus set his boundaries. He kept his dignity, but now comes the hardest part. Actually doing the work, building something from nothing. proving he belongs. And not everyone is going to make it easy. The real battle is just beginning. Marcus's first day at Mercer Tech Tower felt like walking into a foreign country where he didn't speak the language. His office was on the 38th floor. Corner office, windows overlooking the city, a desk bigger than his kitchen table. Everything was white and chrome and cold. He sat down in the leather chair and stared at the computer screen. The login credentials Evelyn's assistant had emailed him that morning. "Welcome to Mercer Technologies," Marcus hailed, Community Outreach Director. It didn't feel real. There was a knock on his door. A white woman in her 40s poked her head in. Blonde hair, sharp blazer, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Marcus, I'm Jennifer Kane, VP of Human Resources. Just wanted to welcome you aboard." Marcus stood. "Thank you." She walked in but didn't sit, just crossed her arms and looked around his office like she was inspecting it. Big space for someone so new. Evelyn thought it was appropriate. I'm sure she did. Jennifer's smile tightened. "Well, if you need anything, my office is down the hall. We have a meeting with the executive team at 2. Don't be late." She left without waiting for a response. Marcus sat back down and exhaled slowly. This was going to be harder than he thought. The executive meeting was worse. 10 people around a conference table. All white except for one Asian man in his 50s. All in suits that cost more than Marcus made in a month at the diner. Evelyn sat at the head of the table. When Marcus walked in, she gestured to the empty seat beside her. "Everyone, this is Marcus Hale. He'll be leading our Renew Lives initiative." "Marcus, this is the executive leadership team." Nods. Polite smiles. Eyes that measured and dismissed him in seconds. A silver-haired man in his 60s leaned forward. "Marcus, David Chen, CFO. I've been reviewing the budget for your initiative. $7 million over 2 years. That's a significant investment. I understand. Do you have experience managing budgets of that size?" Marcus met his eyes. "No, but I have experience living on $23,000 a year. I know what a dollar means to people who don't have any." Silence. Jennifer spoke up from across the table. "That's quaint, but managing a $7 million program requires more than empathy. It requires systems, processes, accountability." "I agree," Marcus said. "That's why I'm spending this week learning those systems." Another executive, a younger white man with gelled hair, smirked. "Good luck with that." Evelyn's voice cut through. "Marcus has full authority over this program. He reports directly to me. If he needs resources, he gets them. If he needs support, you provide it. Is that clear?" The room went quiet. "Clear," David said flatly. The meeting continued, but Marcus could feel the tension. The resentment. They didn't want him here. They thought he was a pet project. A publicity stunt. He'd have to prove them wrong. The first 2 weeks were hell. Marcus worked from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., reading files, learning software, meeting with non-profits and job placement agencies. Then he'd drive straight to the diner for his Friday night shift, pouring coffee until 2 a.m. Aria barely saw him. "Daddy, you look tired," she said one morning at breakfast. "I'm okay, baby. You said that last time." He didn't have a good answer for that, but by week 3 things started to click. Marcus built a team, small, lean, people who actually cared. Sarah Kim, a Korean-American woman in her 30s who'd worked in social services for 10 years, burned out but still believed in the work. Brandon Lewis, a young black man fresh out of college with a degree in non-profit management and too much energy for his own good. Together they built the framework for Renew Lives. Not handouts, not charity, real support. Job training programs partnered with local companies. Childcare assistance that didn't make parents jump through hoops. Educational grants that came with mentorship, not just money. The first family Marcus helped was Tammy Jo. She walked into his office on a Tuesday afternoon looking exhausted. White woman, early 30s, 2 kids, working overnight stocking shelves at a grocery store for $11 an hour. "I saw the flyer at the community center," she said quietly. "I don't know if I qualify, but tell me what you need," Marcus said. She broke down. "I want to go back to school, get my medical billing certification, but I can't afford childcare. I can't afford to take time off work. I'm barely making rent as it is." Marcus listened, then he pulled up the program guidelines on his computer. "Here's what we can do. We'll cover your certification course, full tuition.
We'll connect you with a childcare co-op that's free for program participants, and we'll get you into a medical billing apprenticeship at County General Hospital. It's part-time, but it pays $18 an hour. You can work around your classes." Tammy Jo stared at him. "Are you serious?" "I'm serious. You'll have to put in the work. The certification course is intense. But if you're willing to try, we'll support you." She started crying. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll show up. That's all I need." 3 months later, Tammy Jo passed her certification exam. She got hired full-time at the hospital. Her income doubled. She came back to Marcus's office with a card, handwritten. "You gave me hope when I had none. Thank you for seeing me." Tammy Jo. Marcus kept it on his desk. The second person he helped was someone closer to home. Jerome, his old co-worker from the diner, showed up at Mercer Tech Tower on a Wednesday afternoon, looking uncomfortable in khakis and a button-down shirt. "Jerome?" Marcus stood up from his desk. "What are you doing here? I need to talk to you." Jerome wouldn't meet his eyes. "I shouldn't have doubted you, man. I'm sorry. You were protecting me. Nothing to apologize for." Jerome finally looked up. "I heard about your program. The job training, the chef apprenticeships." He took a breath. "I've been cooking in diners for 30 years. I'm 52 years old. I'm tired, Marcus. I want to be more than a short-order cook before I die." Marcus felt something tighten in his chest. "What do you want to do?" "I want to be a sous chef, work in a real kitchen, learn from someone who knows what they're doing." Jerome's voice cracked. "But I don't have a culinary degree. I don't have references. You're one of the best cooks I know." Marcus interrupted. "And you care about food. That matters. Can you help me?" Marcus pulled up his contacts. He'd been building relationships with restaurants across the city. One of them was run by a chef named André Bouchard. French, old school, respected. He made the call. 2 weeks later, Jerome was enrolled in a culinary mentorship program. André took him on personally, teaching him technique, plating, flavor profiles. Within 6 months, Jerome would be making twice what he made at the diner, working in a kitchen where people respected him, where his hands created something beautiful. He called Marcus one night, voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you. Just keep cooking, Jerome, and pass it on." By month 4, Renew Lives had helped 50 families. The press coverage shifted. The skeptical articles disappeared, replaced by stories of real people whose lives had changed. Single mother escapes poverty through Mercer Initiative. From diner cook to sous chef, one man's journey. Marcus Hale, the man behind Mercer's most successful program. Reporters wanted interviews. Marcus turned most of them down. "This isn't about me," he told Sarah. "It's about them." But Evelyn insisted on one. A local news segment, 5 minutes. Marcus sat under the bright lights, nervous, wearing the same suit from his wedding. The reporter was a young white woman with perfect teeth. "Marcus, you've only been in this role for 4 months, but Renew Lives is already being called a model program. What's your secret?" Marcus thought about it. "I don't think it's a secret. I just remember what it's like to be invisible. To work hard and still fall short. These families don't need someone to feel sorry for them. They need someone to believe in them. And you believe in them. I know what they're capable of, because I've been there." The segment aired that night. It went viral. Marcus's phone exploded with messages. People asking for help. Organizations wanting to partner. Other companies asking how to replicate the model. But the message that mattered most came from Aria. "I saw you on TV, Daddy. You looked like a superhero. I'm proud of you." Marcus stared at that text for a long time. Maybe he wasn't failing her after all. But not everyone was happy. In the executive meetings, David Chen started asking harder questions. "Your success rate is impressive, Marcus, but your cost per participant is higher than industry standard." "Because we're actually helping them," Marcus said. "Not just checking boxes. That's not sustainable long term. It is if it works." Jennifer Kane chimed in. "We need metrics, data, proof of ROI. The proof is in the people," Marcus said. "Tammy Jo is off government assistance. Jerome is paying taxes at a higher bracket. These families are contributing to the economy now. That's your ROI." Evelyn leaned forward. "David, Jennifer, the program stays as is. Marcus has my full support." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. But Marcus held his ground. He wasn't here to play corporate games. He was here to help people. And he was just getting started. By month 6, something shifted. The whispers in the hallway stopped. The sidelong glances disappeared. People started coming to Marcus for advice, asking him how he built relationships with community organizations, how he kept families engaged. Even Jennifer Kane softened, just a little. "You're doing good work, Marcus," she said one afternoon. "I didn't think this would work, but you're proving me wrong. Thank you. Don't let it go to your head." Marcus smiled. "I won't." On his 6-month anniversary, Evelyn called him into her office. "Well," she said, "trial period is over. What do you think?" Marcus sat down. "I think I want to keep going." "Good, because I'm not letting you quit." She slid a folder across the desk. "This is your new contract. Permanent position. Same salary, but now we're expanding the program. 10 million over 3 years. More cities, more families." Marcus opened the folder. His hands were steady now. No more shaking. "And the scholarship for Aria?" Evelyn asked. "You ready to accept it now?" Marcus thought about it. About the 6 months of hell. The late nights. The doubt. The proof he'd built with his own hands. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I'm ready." Evelyn smiled. "You earned it, Marcus. Every bit of it." That night Marcus picked up Aria from school and took her to her favorite pizza place. "Guess what, baby?" "What?" "You're going to a new school next year. A really good one." Aria's eyes went wide. "Really, really? You earned it. I didn't do anything. You believed in me. That's everything." She hugged him tight, and for the first time in years, Marcus felt like he could breathe. He'd done it. He'd proven he belonged, not because someone gave him a chance, but because he took it and ran. Marcus built something real. He changed lives. He earned his place. But just when things are finally working, just when he's finally winning, everything is about to fall apart. And this time, it won't be the press that brings him down. It'll be something much closer to home. It happened on a Wednesday morning. Marcus was in his office reviewing applications when Sarah burst through the door, her face pale. "Marcus, it's Evelyn." His stomach dropped. "What happened?" She collapsed in her office. "They're taking her to the hospital now." Marcus grabbed his jacket and ran. The hospital waiting room smelled like disinfectant and fear. Michael, Evelyn's assistant, was there. His expensive suit looked rumpled. His eyes were red. "How is she?" Marcus asked. "Exhaustion. Dehydration. The doctor said she's been running on fumes for months." Michael rubbed his face. "She's been working 90-hour weeks, running the company, overseeing a dozen initiatives, dealing with board pressure. Her body just gave out." Marcus sat down heavily. "Can I see her?" "Family only right now. They're keeping her overnight for observation." Marcus nodded. His hands were shaking. Evelyn had given him everything. A job, a future, a way to help people. And he hadn't even noticed she was drowning. His phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. "Emergency board meeting called for 2 p.m. They're talking about cutting programs. You need to get back here." Marcus looked at Michael. "Did you know about this?" Michael's jaw tightened. David Chen called it. The moment Evelyn was in the ambulance, he made his move. "Jesus, he's been waiting for this, Marcus." They all have. Marcus walked into Mercer Tech Tower at 1:45 p.m. The 38th floor was buzzing with tension. People whispering in corners, eyes following him as he passed. He found Sarah and Brandon in his office. "What's happening?" Marcus asked. Sarah pulled up an email on her laptop. "David sent this to the executive team an hour ago. Someone forwarded it to me." Marcus read it. "Given Miss Mercer's current health situation and uncertainty regarding her return timeline, the board has determined it necessary to review all non-essential expenditures. This includes several of her pet projects, most notably the Renew Lives initiative. An emergency meeting has been called to discuss immediate suspension of funding pending further analysis." Marcus felt rage building in his chest. Pet projects. "They're calling it fiscally irresponsible," Brandon said. "Too expensive, unclear ROI, not aligned with core business objectives. We've helped over 70 families in 6 months. They don't care about that." Sarah's voice was bitter. "They care about quarterly earnings and shareholder value." Marcus looked at the clock. 1:52 p.m. "Where's the meeting?"
Executive boardroom. 40th floor. Am I invited? Brandon shook his head. It's board members only. Marcus grabbed his jacket. I don't care. The 40th floor was different from the 38th. Quieter, more exclusive, the kind of floor where only the most powerful people in the building were allowed. Marcus walked past a receptionist who tried to stop him. Sir, you can't. He kept walking. The boardroom was at the end of the hall, double doors, mahogany. Through the glass panel he could see them, 12 people in expensive suits sitting around a table that probably cost more than his car. He didn't knock, he just opened the doors and walked in. 12 heads turned, 12 faces registered shock. David Chen stood at the head of the table, mid-sentence. Mr. Hale, this is a closed meeting. I know. Marcus's voice was steady, calm. I'm here anyway. You weren't invited, and you weren't invited to cut my program while Evelyn is in the hospital. But here we are. The room went silent. Jennifer Kane spoke up from the left side of the table. Marcus, this isn't personal. We're making difficult financial decisions. Don't. Marcus's voice cut through like a knife. Don't insult me by pretending this is about money. David's face hardened. Mr. Hale, you need to leave. Now, or what? You'll fire me. Marcus walked closer to the table. Go ahead, but you're going to hear what I have to say first. One of the board members, an older white woman with silver hair, leaned forward. Young man, you're out of line. Maybe, but I'm also right. Marcus looked at each of them. You want to cut Renew Lives because it's expensive, because the return on investment isn't clear, because it doesn't fit into your neat little spreadsheets. David crossed his arms. That's exactly right. $7 million over 2 years for 70 families, that's $100,000 per family. It's unsustainable. You know what else is unsustainable? Marcus's voice rose. Poverty. Families working 3 jobs and still falling short. Kids growing up believing they'll never be more than what their parents were. He paused. But you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? The room bristled. Mr. Hale, David said coldly, you're letting your emotions cloud your judgment. No, I'm letting my experience inform my judgment. Marcus put his hands on the table. Evelyn's mother was a waitress, worked 2 jobs her whole life. When she got hurt she almost lost everything. But a construction worker who could barely afford breakfast organized a fundraiser to help her. He didn't do it for ROI. He didn't do it for quarterly earnings. He did it because it was the right thing to do. Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. That's a nice story, but it's not a story. It's the reason Evelyn built this program. It's the reason she hired me. Because she understands something you don't. Marcus looked around the table. You're not investing in a program. You're investing in dignity, in hope, in the belief that people deserve a chance to rise above their circumstances. And what does that get us? David's voice was ice. Good press. A warm feeling. It gets you Tammy Jo, who's now paying taxes at a higher bracket instead of relying on government assistance. It gets you Jerome, who's training 2 younger cooks and keeping restaurant jobs in this city. It gets you 70 families who will remember that someone believed in them, and they'll pass that belief forward. Marcus straightened. That's your return on investment. Not in dollars, in dignity, in community, in a future where people like me don't have to beg for scraps. The silver-haired woman spoke again, softer this time. What you're describing is admirable, but it doesn't change the financial reality. Then change the financial reality. Marcus's voice dropped. Dangerous. Cut executive bonuses, reduce shareholder dividends, but don't cut the one program that actually changes lives. David laughed. A short, bitter sound. You're suggesting we sacrifice profitability for charity. I'm suggesting you remember what it means to be human. The room was silent. Marcus looked at each of them. If you cut this program, you're not just cutting costs, you're cutting hope. You're telling 70 families that they don't matter, that their struggles aren't worth your time or your money. He paused. And I won't be part of that. So here's my offer. You keep Renew Lives running, or I walk. Today, right now. David's face went red. You're threatening us. I'm giving you a choice. Jennifer stood up. Marcus, you can't just. Yes, I can. He met her eyes. Because I've been poor my whole life. I've been overlooked and dismissed and treated like I don't matter. And I'm done accepting that. From anyone. The silver-haired woman looked at David. Maybe we should discuss this. There's nothing to discuss, David said. David. Another board member. a younger man Marcus didn't recognize, spoke up. He has a point. The program is working, the press has been positive, and Evelyn clearly believes in it. Evelyn isn't here, but she will be. The younger man looked at Marcus, and when she gets back she's going to ask what we did while she was gone. Do we really want to tell her we killed her program? Silence. David's jaw worked. We'll take a vote. Marcus didn't move. I'll wait. You need to leave the room. No, I'm staying. For a long moment Marcus thought David might call security. But then the older man just shook his head and sat down. Fine. All in favor of suspending Renew Lives initiative, raise your hand. 3 hands went up. David, Jennifer, 1 other. All opposed. 9 hands. Marcus felt something release in his chest. David looked at him with pure contempt. You win, Mr. Hale. For now. It's not about winning, Marcus said quietly. It's about doing what's right. He turned and walked out. Marcus was back in his office, hands still shaking when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Hello, Marcus? Evelyn's voice, weak, tired, but alive. Evelyn, how are you? Michael told me what you did. Her voice cracked. You stood up to the board. You fought for the program. I had to. No one's ever done that for me before. She was crying now. He could hear it. My whole life people have wanted things from me. Money, connections, power. But you just wanted to protect what we built. Marcus's throat tightened. It's worth protecting. Thank you. She took a shaky breath. I'll be back next week. And when I am, we're expanding the program. Not cutting it, expanding it. Evelyn, you need to rest. I will. But you need to know something. Her voice was firmer now. You're not just an employee, Marcus. You're a partner. In everything. He didn't know what to say. Get some rest, he finally managed. We'll talk when you're better. Okay. And Marcus, yeah? My mother would have loved you. The line went dead. Marcus sat there for a long time, staring at his phone, feeling something shift inside him. He'd walked into that boardroom terrified, but he'd walked out knowing something he'd never known before. He belonged. Not because someone gave him permission, but because he'd earned it. Marcus just went to war for something bigger than himself. He won. But the fight changed him, made him realize he's not just surviving anymore, he's leading. And now he's going to finish what he started. One more family, one more act of kindness, one more chance to prove that hope isn't just a word, it's a choice. 6 months after the board meeting, Marcus sat in his office, staring at an envelope. The letterhead read, Westbrook Academy, Scholarship Acceptance, Full Tuition, 4 years, the best private elementary school in the state. Area's name was on it. All he had to do was sign. He picked up his phone and called Evelyn. She answered on the first ring. Marcus, everything okay? Yeah? I need to talk to you about something. What is it? He took a breath. I'm not taking the scholarship for Aria. Silence on the other end. Evelyn? Why? Her voice was careful, not angry, just confused. Because she's happy where she is. Her school isn't fancy, but her friends are there. Her teachers know her. She feels normal there. Marcus looked out the window at the city below. I don't want to take her out of that world just because I can afford something better now. I want her to stay grounded, to remember where she came from. Evelyn was quiet for a long moment. You're a better father than most people I know. I'm just trying to do what's right for her. You are. He could hear the smile in her voice. The scholarship will be there if you change your mind. But I understand. Thank you. After he hung up, Marcus sat there feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. Money could buy a lot of things, but it couldn't buy the kind of childhood Aria deserved. One where she knew who she was and where she came from. That Friday night, Marcus drove to Silver Creek Diner for his weekly shift. Some things hadn't changed. The neon sign still flickered. The parking lot still had more cracks than asphalt. The smell of burnt coffee and grease still hit him the moment he walked through the door. But other things had. Earl greeted him with a real smile now. Marcus, good to see you, man. You too, Earl. A new server, a young black woman named Keisha, was working the counter. She looked up when Marcus walked in, her eyes going wide. Oh my God, you're him. The guy from the news. Marcus felt his face get hot. I'm just here to work. But you're like famous. I'm a waiter, Keisha. Same as you. She grinned.
A waiter who changed 70 people's lives. 93 now, Marcus corrected. Then he smiled. But who's counting? He tied on his apron and got to work. The rhythm came back immediately. Pouring coffee, taking orders, eaters, clearing tables. The familiar dance of service. Around 10 p.m., a young man walked in, white, maybe 25, wearing work clothes stained with paint. His face had that exhausted look, Marcus recognized, the kind that came from working multiple jobs and still barely making it. The young man sat at the counter and stared at the menu like he was doing complex math. Marcus approached with a coffee pot. Long day. The young man looked up. 3 jobs, actually. Just finished a painting gig. Got another one in the morning. What do you paint? Houses, mostly, but I'm trying to get into art, real art. I'm in school for it. He laughed bitterly, or I was. Can't afford tuition anymore. Marcus poured the coffee. What's your name? Evan Miller. Nice to meet you, Evan. I'm Marcus. Evan studied the menu again. I'll just take the coffee. That's all I can afford tonight. Marcus had been there. God, he'd been exactly there. You eaten today, Evan? The young man's face went red. I'll be fine. Marcus didn't ask again. He just went to the kitchen and put in an order. Burger, fries, the cheapest thing on the menu, but enough to fill a stomach. When he brought it out, Evan looked confused. I didn't order this. I know. Someone paid it forward for you. Who? Does it matter? Evan's eyes filled with tears. Man, I don't know what to say. Just remember to do the same for someone else someday. Evan nodded, his throat working. I will. I swear I will. Marcus patted his shoulder and moved on. As he walked away he felt it, that same warmth he'd felt 6 months ago when he helped Lily, when he talked Hank out of that extra whiskey, when he'd done 1,000 small kindnesses that no one noticed. This was why he kept coming back. Not because he had to, because he needed to remember. Near closing time, Marcus noticed someone sitting in the corner booth, the same booth where this had all started. A woman in a dark coat, sitting alone with a cup of coffee. His heart skipped. Evelyn. He walked over slowly. She looked up and smiled. Evelyn, what are you doing here? Same thing I was doing the first time, watching you work. He sat down across from her. You don't have to keep testing me. I'm not testing you. I'm reminding myself why I chose you. She took a sip of her coffee. Do you know what you just did for that young man? Same thing you did for me. No, what I did was offer you a job. What you did was give him hope. She set down her cup. That's the difference between charity and dignity, Marcus. You didn't save him, you just saw him. Marcus felt his throat tighten. I'm just doing what I can. That's all any of us can do. They sat in silence for a moment. Comfortable, easy. Then Evelyn stood. I should let you finish your shift. She walked to the register and paid. Marcus watched her leave cash on the counter. When he went to clear her table, he found 2 $50 bills under her coffee cup, and a note. He unfolded it. You're doing good, Marcus. Keep going. The world needs more people like you. Below that in smaller handwriting. P.S. My mother would have been proud. Marcus held the note for a long time, feeling something warm spread through his chest. He put the $100 in the team tip jar. Let the other servers split it. They needed it more than he did. Marcus finished his shift at 2 a.m. The rain had stopped, but the streets were still wet, reflecting the streetlights like scattered stars. He walked to his car, his body tired but his mind clear. His phone buzzed, a text from Arya. Love you, Daddy. See you in the morning. He smiled and typed back. Love you too, baby. Sweet dreams. Another text came in. This one from Tammy Jo. I just got promoted to supervisor at the hospital. Thank you for believing in me. Then Jerome taught my first cooking class tonight. Felt good passing it on. Then Sarah, we just approved our 100th family. Marcus, we're changing lives. Marcus stood there in the empty parking lot, reading the messages, feeling the weight and the lightness of it all. He thought about Dorothy Sterling, who worked herself to exhaustion for her daughter. He thought about the construction worker who organized a fundraiser for a waitress he barely knew. He thought about Evelyn, who turned her pain into purpose. He thought about himself, a man who'd been invisible for so long, finally learning to see others the way he wished he'd been seen. The circle kept turning, from stranger to stranger, from pain to hope. from darkness to light, and maybe that was the point. Maybe kindness wasn't about grand gestures or big checks. Maybe it was about the small moments. The coffee paid forward, the name remembered, the quiet belief that someone, somewhere, was worth fighting for. Marcus got in his car and drove home through the empty streets. The city was sleeping, but somewhere, someone was working a night shift, counting coins, wondering if they'd ever be more than their circumstances. And tomorrow Marcus would wake up and keep building, keep helping, keep believing, because that's what Dorothy Sterling had done. That's what the construction worker had done. That's what Evelyn had done. And now it was his turn to pass it forward. The rain started again as he pulled into his parking spot. Soft, gentle, like the world was washing itself clean. Marcus looked up at his apartment window. The light was on in Aria's room. Mrs. Peterson must have forgotten to turn it off. He smiled. Home. Not perfect, not fancy, but enough, and in the end enough was all anyone really needed. 3 years later, Renew Lives initiative had helped over 500 families across 3 states. Marcus Hale was named one of Forbes' 30 under 40 social impact leaders. But every Friday night, you could still find him at Silver Creek Diner, pouring coffee and remembering names. Because some tips change lives, and some tips keep changing them, rippling outward in ways you'll never fully see. From Dorothy Sterling to a construction worker, from that worker to Evelyn, from Evelyn to Marcus, from Marcus to Tammy Jo and Jerome and Evan, and hundreds of others. The circle never ends, it just keeps going. Forever forward. Kindness is not a transaction, it's a legacy, and the only way to repay it is to pass it on. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Someone who's working 3 jobs and still falling short. Someone who feels invisible. Someone who's forgotten what hope feels like. Hit that like button if you believe in second chances. Subscribe if you want more stories that remind us what it means to be human. And drop a comment telling me what's one act of kindness someone showed you that changed your life. Because maybe, just maybe, your story will inspire someone else to pass it forward. See you in the next one. Keep believing, keep helping, keep going. Forever forward.